This is a clouds weather alert.
Good very early Thursday morning, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, coming on the air because we do have Tropical Storm Debby making landfall here once again, this time in South Carolina. The water just coming down from the National Hurricane Center there in Miami just a few moments ago, really talking about it, impacting areas still as we're looking, across several states, but the official second landfall point there near Bulls Bay, South Carolina. This is their 2 a.m. advisory. Comes out just a little bit early there, and that's why we're on with it to give you the very latest. I know it's a situation that's been kind of just ongoing, impacting the Carolinas with torrential rains here, especially even I know areas of Georgia under a flash flood warning right now toward Bullock County because of issues there toward dam failure potential. But again, just watching things here as we're looking at the Doppler technology. You can watch that spin, and we actually have some of Debbie still impacting parts of our area, believe it or not. It's just kind of crazy to see that here right at the top of the hour. A significant weather advisory was set to expire, I believe, toward parts of St. Johns County. So let's go ahead and look over there toward this view. This here impacting areas there toward the coast, even a little bit of Clay County too. I'll look at the velocity mode, and you can kind of see here there's a little bit of wind energy lingering. So we'll see if they extend a significant weather advisory. I know we haven't had any like severe thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings with any of this, but just kind of crazy that this is connected here to the outer band action of Debbie. Most of the area clear, not that impactful overall, but waking some folks up. I know. Just kind of intriguing to see. Luckily, most folks with power back on across the region, I see a heat advisory just got issued for portions of our local area in the Jacksonville region here on this Thursday. So I know we're on really late, just breaking in because the storm system did just make landfall there as we're looking toward parts of South Carolina with that official designation. So just kind of looking there at things and the word coming on down there. This is about 20 miles northeast of Charleston there with this official landfall. So just kind of looking at things here. It's not that organized at all. I know the winds had gone up to 60 miles an hour or so, but down to 50 there with this official landfall. So kind of intriguing to see that there as we look at some of the weather information. I'll go back over to the loop here real quick, just kind of giving you the very latest on what's going on. I know just kind of showing you the accent, how weird it is with some of that extending down into toward the Florida zones, not really right now into toward Georgia zones even, but just that, outer extension there of Debbie and that influence, just kind of odd pattern. We're lucky that, we haven't had flash flood warnings or anything pop up like that in our region. We did have some flood advisories, but I know flash flood warnings or anything to that extent. We do have some river flood warnings, of course, though, that are very important to know. But again, this storm system making landfall there as we're looking there toward areas of South Carolina. And it's been impacting them for a while, as I've alluded to, but there's just a few. I mean, the winds don't even look that impressive. So that's definitely some good news there as we're kind of looking at things. And that's probably one of the real reasoning details here behind them dropping the winds down to 50 in that latest advisory. We do have some flash flood alerts there to get to. We just got some breaking news on one of these. So let's go ahead and jump to some of the alerts further to the north. I know you see all this massive rain. There is some gusty wind action further on up, but we have several flash flood warnings. But now one of these, just here in the last few moments, looking like it's become a flash flood emergency now. Let's see if it's this one right here. It is from Bladenboro until 5 a.m. At 1:42, emergency management reported that Bladenboro had been barricaded off from the rest of the Bladen County area, with some areas in town having standing water up to 2 to 3 feet. There's been between 4 and 7 inches of rain that have fallen over the last few hours. Additional amounts of 1 to 3 inches possible in the warned area. So around Bladenboro, they're not a good situation as you kind of look there. You don't see as much rain at the moment, but Storm Total telling that story. I mean, that gray's 5 inches in a very widespread area, and then the area with some vulnerabilities, it seems, with the water intrusion into homes and businesses there in the Ward town, with one swift water rescue being performed. So, classified emergency now toward Bladenboro in North Carolina. As you see some tornado warnings here in effect as well. A little break in those as we were looking back on that Wednesday. But right now we have a couple of these red boxes indicating that potential. One of these circulations there toward parts of Jones and Lenore counties. That goes there. And actually this one here is green in Lenore until about 2:15 a.m. And then this one down here is Jones and Lenore until about 2:30 a.m. So just kind of giving you guys the latest, watching if there's any type of debris signature there. That one's a little bit tighter looking. So that'll be worth watching for those folks in the Carolinas. I know bigger local story for them than anything, but with this making that second landfall, it should kind of now be overland the rest of the way, unless it does some weird jog on us. But let's go over to another one of our Doppler perspectives. I mean, we have a bunch of those green boxes. Those are flash flood warnings. I know there's even a bunch of those that are considerable polygons and one flash flood emergency. When I say considerable, I mean there's a considerable threat to life and property, but then a flash flood emergency means potentially catastrophic flooding. But you see the track there, track in the center of this by around 8 a.m. toward areas like around Keene's-Tree there in South Carolina, and then by 8 p.m. up in North Carolina. And I know they'll have to watch in some of these states here about that flash flooding potential as this goes further inland. Some of these areas further inland there in that part of the country may have more trouble handling some of this rain and other portions that have been impacted this far. So I know we have a tornado watch in play, and that goes into play until about 8 a.m. there Eastern time. Going ahead and taking that off. I know we'll break back in if we need to for anything else regarding Debby from the national standpoint, or somehow if something happens locally as that tailwind. We should, really eventually get away from that influence here of Debby, but we'll be watching just to make sure things don't kind of become a problem on that Thursday as the system tries to get further on up. I know the latest Storm Prediction Center outlook just came out, and they do have a risk here on that Thursday continuing. That would be for that tornado threat into parts of Virginia. So that northeastern quadrant still being potentially problematic. You see the infrared satellite, a good bit of cloud top action there that's gotten fairly cold there on us. I mean, more organization than when we were with you there Tuesday night. So that's kind of a storyline in that regard. But just kind of watching, it's crazy. It's that tail end extending into part of our area, St. John's and Flagler, as this makes that second landfall there. As we're looking a little northeast of Charleston and moving up the center into some areas into ward like North Carolina and Virginia ultimately. So just kind of intriguing to see all of that. It's always important for the folks on that national level to remember to turn around, don't drown. So this is something to kind of bear in mind there as we're looking at the situation with that second landfall occurring. I know as we kind of look at things here, let me put some of the model guidance on here real quick to kind of give you an idea of some expectations. So let's go ahead and start this out here. Just kind of looking. I just want to look at our area some too. This is at 8 a.m. on that Thursday. Not seeing much then. And let's see if we have some development. These models kind of vary. You see some maybe on the periphery, maybe more just lingering moisture at this point, though, versus actually being in the banding according to this. But we shall see. We'll have to see if any of these go severe on us. I know looking at the SBC outlook, they do have a thunderstorm risk around, but it's not necessarily connected to Debby, as you saw in terms of the geography anyway. But just kind of intriguing there. I know, looking here at some of the other information, the last 12 hours in terms of rain, definitely see a tropical cyclones cause of this here as you're looking even toward parts of our area. I mean, that's another interest. So, in toward parts of St. Johns County, believe it or not, around St. Augustine, and in toward parts of eastern Duval County, close to 1.5 inches in spots, 1.5 inches around St. Mary's. last 12 hours, and this could be underdoing it a bit, but you see these oranges, that's at least 5 inches of rain there in the last 12 hours, and the storm system still moving very slow there. Overall, I see a new tornado warning for parts of Greene County and North Carolina just popping on up, so that's still a factor for those folks. That's in eastern parts of North Carolina, some radar indicated rotation. So that's the storyline there as we're kind of looking at things, as we're kind of tracking the situation. I know another thing as we're on, let me just kind of see that model guidance there. A little bit better focused further up toward the north, I know. Just kind of looking, this is the expectation at 11 a.m., noon, 1, 2, 3, 4. You kind of get the idea as we get later on. This is around 9 p.m. You see some stuff as I move the map, even in parts of Virginia there that could be, rotating some. So that's kind of intriguing to see as we look at Debby here, and this gets into the overnight hours there toward Friday. Still some influence, some of that getting off the shore, but other areas, further up and toward Friday in Pennsylvania could have some flooding from Debby, and then in New York State there. So this is getting later into Friday. See like a squall line formation there. So a long-term event that Debby has been here. I know didn't hang around our area as long as the other version of Debby in 2012, but still very, very impactful. And again, still having that lingering impact directly with that Friends band there, per se, in over parts of St. John and Blackler right now here early on this Thursday. So just intriguing to see. I know we're not really keeping the logo red because of our area, though. It's because of what is going on further to the north in case you start getting flash flood emergencies that just really become catastrophic. I mean, hopefully we won't have to break back in for anything like that. But if we do need to, we will. And if we just need to retweet stuff there at Cloud Casey on Twitter, we'll do that as well. Since we're breaking it now, we're not going to have a formal update late Thursday there, as I was kind of alluding to late Tuesday. But if we need to break back in for anything, whether it's national or local, and local maybe more to sea breeze stuff that pops up in the next several days, and we will. Of course, we're always here to keep you guys safe on the different platforms. Facebook, Casey Cloud, Everybody X Cloud Weather, Twitter /X at Cloud Casey, YouTube at Cloud Weather, Twitch Cloud Weather, and cloudweather.com. So just kind of breaking that all down for you. I know. Let's go to the graphical form here of some of the stats for that 2 a.m. advisory. That second landfall near Bulls Bay, South Carolina. Max sustained winds at 50 miles an hour. That movement there northwest at 5 miles an hour, as we have that minimum central pressure 995 millibars. It's a major flood threat that's continuing for portions of the Carolinas and western rural areas of Virginia there. So it's just important to keep in mind. Tropical storm warning in effect from Modesto Beach there, South Carolina, to Surf City, North Carolina. Tropical storm watch north of Surf City, North Carolina. Indoor areas there around Beaufort Inlet or Beaufort Inlet, depending on how that's pronounced in that state. I know sometimes things can be pronounced a little bit differently in different areas, but surface observations according to the Hurricane Center satellite images and radar data indicate that Debby made landfall near Bulls Bay, South Carolina. At 2 a.m., the center of Tropical Storm Debby was located on the coast there, latitude 33 north and longitude 79.6 west, and Debby is moving toward the northwest near 5 miles an hour. This general motion is expected to continue through the morning. A faster motion toward the north and northeast across the Carolinas and the U.S. Mid-Atlantic states is expected later today. Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunter aircraft data indicate that maximum sustained winds have decreased to near 50 miles an hour with higher gusts. Additional weakening is forecast today as the center moves further inland. Debby is expected to merge with a frontal boundary over the U.S. Mid-Atlantic states on Friday or Friday night, and tropical storm force winds extend outward up to about 185 miles, mainly to the east of the center, with the estimated minimum central pressure based on surface observations at 995 millibars, and storm surge there towards some of those coast areas, like from South Santee River to Ocracoke Inlet, about 1 to 3 feet. So some areas could end up with 25 inches of rain, though, as we look ahead toward parts of South Carolina, and the eastern part of that state, and 15 inches in southeast North Carolina. So something to kind of watch there as we're looking at things. So just worth mentioning as the situation does develop. As we go ahead and see some more on Debby, of course, that fourth name there used this season. A lot more storms will likely develop here in the Atlantic Basin in 2024. It's just a matter of the impact land and of how strong are they. I mean, every storm is, an individual storm in and of itself. So we'll just have to watch each and every one to see if they bring any impacts here toward our local communities or not, or the U.S. in general here, or just something destructive across the basin. But and let's get back to a local look at things real quick. I know that Debby River flooding. This is some information on the Swanee River near Swanee Springs. You see, as we get there later in the weekend there, toward early next week, peaking out there at about 68.4 feet, it looks like. As we kind of give you the latest on that, with flood state at 60 feet and already about 63 feet. So some problematic issues, and there have been some evacuation information coming out for some of these areas. So just very important to heed information from the local officials as we look at things. I know some areas, not as bad as others. I mean, as we look toward, like Bradford County, we're not seeing numbers like we did in Irma or anything like that. But still, gotta always keep in mind rivers, creeks, and the like. The next 5 days, rainfall forecast here. You can see parts of South Carolina, North Carolina, additional rainfall amounts 5 to 7 inches there, and in Virginia, 5 to 7 inches, and that seems to be an area that might be a little more vulnerable to flood in some ways, and even in West Virginia, close to 5 inches in eastern parts of the state. And you see some areas of 3+ inches there in Pennsylvania and New York State. So I know you can go to clutter.com/radar for an interactive look at things. I know most of this rain through the south earlier on. So just keep that in mind as, kind of a timeline. And this will be out of the picture now before this 5-day period does come to an end. So that's some good news, at least here, as we're kind of looking at things in terms of the low pressure area. This kind of something to keep in mind here as we're tracking the ongoing situation. As I am getting word right now that there's a confirmed tornado warning now in parts of North Carolina. So let's go ahead and jump over to that if we can. Okay, so I believe it's maybe the trailing cell here. Let me just kind of switch on over, because this is something that we haven't had a whole bunch of here, in maybe the last, let's say, 36 hours, give or take. I mean, these confirmed tornado warnings, I mean, even, I guess you could say 48 hours at this point. As we kind of look here, kind of giving you the latest on things, that looks like a pretty substantial one. These must be different weather service offices. Newport, Morehead City hadn't confirmed it, but looks like Raleigh gone ahead and issued a tornado warning for a storm is producing a tornado near Snow Hill. So that looks like a pretty well-defined debris signature, folks. I mean, that looks like one of the more impressive ones we've had from this whole event, and it's happening right now in the middle of the night here. I mean, that looks really intense. Let's go ahead and back this one up here. I mean, that kind of popped up a little bit, but then that latest scan is so significant that our debris signature scan, now granted it is pretty close to the radar, it's not, even able to kind of show in the color table, because it's just, it's so much debris there in that one spot. And they're calling this a large and extremely dangerous tornado down near Snow Hill, or 12 miles southwest of Farmville, according to the Weather Service. Near Newport, Morehead City, moving northwest at 35 miles an hour. So a large tornado on the ground. Now, that's kind of what this was looking like. And Morehead City office now confirming that there, as well, Newport, Morehead City. That is very significant, folks. Winds maybe over 100 miles an hour, and that may even be a debris ball. I think that's a debris ball there on the Doppler. And some of the scans aren't really staying right intact, but it's a serious looking tornado, folks. I don't think we've had a PDS one from Debby until right now. A large and extremely dangerous tornado on the ground here in parts of North Carolina. Wayne and Wilson under one of these boxes, and then Greene County is where this is. Right now, a large and extremely dangerous tornado, particularly dangerous situation. Sign Fort Run, VFD, Bullhead, VFD there in North Carolina, and the Walstenburg area. And we honestly haven't had anything just overwhelming here. I mean, currently we've seen some nasty damage in South Carolina, some tornado damage it seems here in our area, even in Union and Columbia counties. And more information to come on that as we look ahead in the timeline. But this is the first, I believe, one that really could be in that, strong tornado type of range here with the more enhanced type of damage. So very significant here in Greene County, North Carolina. If you have family up there in this box, you need to call them and wake them up. And it's weakening a little on that latest scan or two, but I know we've been kind of switching radars, but looks like it's been coming together for a little while. We talked about it some, but really picked up right around Snow Hill. So let's go ahead and kind of look at that there. I mean, debris pretty low on the tracker wasn't showing 206, 208, even at 210, but then it starts to appear right when it gets past around the Snow Hill area at about 212, 214. It's still not overwhelming, but then at 216, it's so significant. The color table, again, it's not even picking up on it. It's so dense, the debris, whatever is picking up there for that scan. I'm probably, that's an indication it's going pretty high now. Now, I'm not seeing it on the highest tilt here. Let's go a little lower. It is over 10,000 feet, though, which is indicative of you have two type tornadoes. So, at least there, that's more likely than not with that type of debris signature. So, a tropical situation, that would be the most likely number, but of course that's determined by Weather Service damage surveys afterward. But you have two tornadoes, a considerable tornado with the winds of 111 to 135 miles an hour. So a pretty nasty situation right now in North Carolina. It's weakening some, but you can't lay your guard down there. I mean, as we're looking like toward Wilson and Wilson County there in North Carolina, again, kind of popping up on us like that. Just kind of giving you the latest as we're doing that landfall cut-in. And right, at that point here, when that second landfall occurred, we're having a PDS tornado warning. A large tornado in the middle of the night here. This is southwest of Greenville, by the way. As we're looking now, it's probably still put this in the Greenville TV market before it gets into the Raleigh market. As we're looking at things, you see Pitt County, we're just getting a comment that Greenville is looking pretty good, and that is the case at the present time there from Max watching over on YouTube. Again, let's go ahead and kind of look at some other radar perspectives. After what just happened there, we got to be a little more careful again with these storms. On that one, in Lenore County probably would get an extension, I would think. It's not going to be as well defined as the other one has been, but that was really significant up in the Snow Hill area there. I know we're looking at some different radar views, so kind of bear with it. But yeah, oh, wow, that, and that Moorhead radar is really showing the debris there too. Moorhead City radar. So a serious situation there. And we do have 3 purple boxes now. So let me see if we just got an extension on one of these. So okay, they're just saying, I think they just kind of had initiated a new warning that a confirmed large and extremely dangerous tornado is located 7 miles northwest of Snow Hill, according to the Raleigh office, or 12 miles southwest of Farmville, moving northwest at 30 miles an hour. Wayne and Wilson counties till 3 a.m. A large and extremely dangerous tornado. And again, it's weakened a little, but it may be trying to still be pretty organized as it moves into some areas further off. I know around Snow Hill. Let's see if we can kind of get a gauge on maybe what happened, because you see how tight it was kind of trying to give it. It wasn't necessarily touching down there for a while. It didn't seem based on debris, and then it just really came together there. Yeah, I mean, maybe on the west side of town there, Snow Hill, North Carolina, and then we've got a lot of debris to be picked up from whatever just happened around there. So I suspect some areas in that county, Greene County, have significant damage right now. We're in this update just for landfall coverage Unless there was a tornado emergency, we wouldn't really probably be breaking in for something like this. We may retweet at Cloud Casey there on Twitter. But let me see if there's any updates on social media. If there's some early damage reports out of the Snow Hill area. I know, not fun here in the middle of the night. As we're looking at this situation here with Debby, don't necessarily see anything really well to find in terms of reports. I mean, it's not exactly a scenario where storm chasers would be out in that area and at this time of night. But again, dangerous stuff there. Got to be mindful in North Carolina. As we're looking at another area of rotation there, it looks like southwest of Wilson, but that's not the most dominant area there. This one here has been the more dominant area. We'll have to just kind of see what happens. Hopefully that was a one-off and we don't start getting like a mini tornado outbreak on our hands or something here in the middle of the night now that this center has gotten back over land again to the south. And things, with that center, maybe sometimes when you have that reorganization there, and the center comes back over land, the friction kind of starts getting involved again as if it's like a whole new system. Now, it doesn't look that great, I mean, compared to what it did, obviously, in our area, into our 62 counties. Again, not going to forget what happened here for a while to our area back on early Monday morning toward the Steinhatchee community. That landfall was an 80-mile-an-hour hurricane, southern Taylor County, and then impacting some of our other areas really substantially as well. But again, a nasty, nasty situation where winds very well could have been over 100 miles an hour there in Greene County, North Carolina, with that. A large tornadoes just happened to have that during our landfall covers now, but we'll continue to watch that and try to give you the latest updates here as that's warranted. But let's get back into the show here again. This isn't going to necessarily be 5 days now anymore, but just kept that in there as we kind of look, just to kind of keep things a little more in the way of continuity per se, as we look here a little bit more in terms of, that's how we've been doing it lately. I know in our area, some of this would have started a little earlier on with what we've just already seen, but because even though it's the additional rain, it is valid from just a little earlier, so and some of that precip around further off toward areas of northeast Florida, the First Coast region, but some of that just happened there in the last little bit, so that's worth noting there as we kind of look, as we kind of give you the very latest. I know, just kind of letting you know exactly what's going on, exactly what's happening. Again, it says next 5 days, but really, I mean, honestly, it's the next 2 days as I look at things here. Depending on where you are, some it's day 1, some of these areas further north, day 2. But again, just kind of trying to give you a look at things as we look back at what happened around here from Sunday through about Tuesday. And I know rain fell on Wednesday, or I would have added that in there because it would have been from Debby, but 7.04 inches here east of Stark and Bradford County, North Central Florida. Under the wind, again, I've explained this some, but that wind measured only at 6 feet there. That's how things are with the whole weather states, and to kind of get some better data otherwise. But and as you get higher up, obviously winds will be higher than 31 miles an hour. A lot of the other anemometers across the region higher up, we had a gust of 52 at the Keystone Airport, for instance, and that'd probably be similar to the type of winds we had higher up as you go there in terms of things. But did have quite a few limbs down here, even in eastern Bradford County. But lowest pressure there, 1,001.8 millibars. That was at 5:13 on that Monday. And then as we look at things, I will say, I mean, we still have pressure at 1,004 millibars here early on that Thursday. That's still a tropical, storm pressure here in north central Florida. I mean, so that's kind of intriguing to see. That's not that, huge of a difference from what we had here at the lowest, on that Monday. So that's really intriguing. As we look at our covered area, we're always on 30 tornado warnings in our area, our 62 counties. I know it's going to take more confirming with the official reports, but I know we've had some fatalities here across, our area from Debby, whether they're directly related or not. I know in Levy County there, or at least close to the county line, around Fannin Springs, a young person there losing their life when a tree fell. Another problem there toward South Georgia with an issue there toward the Albany television market. And even, as we look, an accident in Dixie County seemed to be weather related. That was deadly. And here in Bradford County, media reports there, WCJB, indicating that a person lost their life after an accident. We'll see if that was directly weather related or not, and if that's attributed to Debby, but it very well may end up getting attributed there in the official stats in an accident there Monday, closer toward Melrose in eastern Bradford County, southeast Bradford County, really. But as we go ahead and look at power outage numbers now, as we keep everybody in our thoughts and prayers that's been impacted by this dangerous storm by Debby. Local county, the highest percentage of electric customers without power. Jefferson County, the highest, but these have really dropped. So some significant progress made in the last 24 hours. I mean, these are way lower just a couple of days after the storm than we had in Adalia, and that was still, considering the damage, some pretty quick restoration overall. So, I mean, these have really dropped, so that's great to see. In terms of only, as of the 9 p.m. update, 22%, but I've seen some numbers, PowerOutage.us, even after that, dropping lower there. Dixie County, 9%, according to the Florida Public Service Commission. The most notable city there is Cross City. And let's see again, if you want to watch in our coverage Monday, our update last night of how we caught some power flashes during our Monday morning there, landfall, live on air. Or let's try that again. I guess it wasn't quite coming up for me. Let me go ahead and see if I can get that to load in our system. It may not want to load this time around here, but just bear with me. Okay, I guess it doesn't want to load the video, but again, you can kind of just see here the information in terms of those power outages as we're tracking here. 7% toward Madison County, 6% toward Suwannee County, 5% toward Lafayette County. So that really does tell that weather story there as we're looking at things. And if you want to see that video, you can go to Clutter.com. It's over there. A couple different spots, even on the Tropics tab there as well. Probably stay in the Tropics tab for a while as we're kind of looking at things with those power flashes that we caught live there on the air. But let's go ahead and just get back on over now toward some other information here in terms of the Doppler perspective. I know watching there toward North Carolina, that radar indicated rotation, tracking that there as we get further on off, because I don't think it's actually on the ground anymore. That's why I call it radar indicated rotation now versus being something like it was where it had been, very obviously on the ground further back toward Greene County. It looks like more lofted debris. I mean, I wouldn't completely discount it being on the ground, but it looks more disorganized, but still, can spin back up quickly, and got to watch it carefully. I mean, there's Raleigh, so we're talking about some really highly populated areas later on if we're not careful. So we'll see, how this kind of spirals around, but just watching that situation there in North Carolina, again, with Debby. So, again, just trying to give you the very latest there to protect you, protect your friends, protect your family. So, again, we're just trying to let you know exactly what's happening here in toward the Weather Center. Just trying to make sure you have everything that you need here at your disposal. So, it's very important to do that here, obviously, as we track our overall scenarios. I know, gonna go ahead and we're gonna give it, I guess, one more try, maybe. Let's see if we can get the power flashes. I think we got that video in there now. So let's try that again, some of that from our coverage Monday morning. Let's go ahead and take a look. So, again, that's the storyline there. Oh, I think we just had another power flash. Another power flash. So that was kind of a look at things there Monday morning toward our local area. Seeing some of those electric outages there live on the air. So again, kind of telling that weather story as we look at some of these areas of rotation in North Carolina, and we just again we broke in now here late because of that landfall, that second landfall being designated there in toward North Carolina. I know, just trying to give you the latest information on all of that. I know hurricane season is going to be going for a while. We're in early to middle August, and you can see we still got to get up the graph here per se in terms of a tropical potential. Doesn't mean we'll get hit again. It only takes one, as we've talked about with Hurricane Andrew. It's the word South Florida in '92, in an overall very quiet year. But that storm was one of the worst we've ever seen here, in the state of Florida and in the U.S. So we've already had one hurricane impact area. Doesn't mean we couldn't have more. Remember the '04 hurricane season. So just be prepared here as we give you the latest. I know it was a Category 1 there as we look at things there on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale. I'll go ahead and pull that up for you guys now. So some damage definitely noted as we were looking, toward areas further off in our viewing circle. I mean, more damage, of course, I would say from Beryl because of the higher population density toward Texas. But nonetheless, they're just trying to give you the very latest there in terms of all that. So I think we're about to wrap it up here. We just wanted to come on to document that landfall here. Since we're coming on with that, there's enough reason to do it. We'll just break in if and as needed here over the next several days, whether it's Debby or local storms. We won't have a formal late Thursday update, but I know, as we're kind of looking at things, I'll just kind of give you a quick synopsis here of the expectation toward our area. I know it's warmer than it normally really is this time of night. We have a heat advisory for Thursday, even around Stark and Gainesville and Jacksonville and the like. I mean, heat index values up to 110 expected. At least most folks getting their power back on, especially off toward the east where that's coming up. But, mid-90s the story for the air temperatures on Thursday, and then storm chances get higher as the influence goes away and we get more back to the typical pattern. And these storms have already, had an impact on Debby, but we may start having more severe thunderstorm morning than the like as we look. Rain chances there getting higher Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and the like there as we look ahead in the timeline with 90s for the highs. So we'll be watching everything here for you in terms of all that, of course. And we don't need to come on for like some of the severe thunderstorm warnings or flash flood warnings. We'll post if they get issued. If they're necessary, we'll post those over on Facebook. Casey Cloud Reacts and Cloud Weather for our 62 counties, and then Twitter / Casey there. But if we have more pertinent stuff there with those, or obviously any local tornado warnings will be on the air. So just watching that, and if there's anything with Debby we need to break back in for, as we're looking further up, we will. There's a lot of flash flood warnings, including a flash flood emergency. I mean, we just had, our first flash flood emergency in a while. Of course, we had some around on Monday, but first flash flood emergency in a while from this toward Bladen, or North Carolina, and then even in the center made landfall in South Carolina. And we had a PDS tornado warning situation there that is, let's see if they're still calling it that. Okay, they're calling it a base damaging. There's something called, I guess you call it a base damaging tornado there in terms of this. It's not considered a large tornado at this moment, but let's look down west of Kingston there in North Carolina. Some rotation, no debris evident there, but you see all the lofted debris that was around with this storm that was, lofted a little while ago. They're saying it's still confirmed. It's probably, based on the current indication that I'm seeing, not something that's been in the last few minutes. Doesn't mean it couldn't touch back down here very quickly, but it looks to be more of a lofted debris signature from when we had debris a little while ago that's still just hanging around, so indicating a pretty significant tornado there in parts of North Carolina here in the overnight hours. So things picking back up with Debby. The landfall, a flash flood emergency, a PDS tornado warning, coming pretty close within, maybe, 30 minutes of each other, give or take. So that's kind of crazy to see. as we look at things there, as we watch the situation with Debbie. If there's any more questions or comments, as we try to protect you, our viewers there at home, obviously, as we're trying to give you everything you need. I mean, it's so important to try to give you everything you need there to protect you, your friends, and your families. That's going to do it for now. Have a great night. Stay safe out there. As we're watching Debbie, let me take the temperature off real quick and zoom out and see that envelope of tropical moisture a little bit further out even. Because, I mean, it is telling a story there as we watch, you know, that extension of some of that town to order area. Of course, the flash flood emergency in North Carolina, a lot of flash flood warnings in the Carolinas. You know, a PDS tornado warning in North Carolina. And the landfall here just a little while ago. The reason we came on here, that landfall of Debby, a second time, of course, it made landfall in our area, you know, around Steinhatchee, 7 a.m. Monday as a Cat 1 hurricane. This time as a 50-mile-an-hour tropical storm around 2 a.m. Thursday, August 8th, near Bulls Bay, South Carolina. It's going to be a major flood threat, continuing for parts of the Carolinas and Western Virginia, and even maybe further up to some degree. And then also that tornado threat continuing as well. The wind threat, you know, causing some isolated power outages for sure, but not near as big of a deal as that was toward our area. And the storm surge, not near as big of a deal as it was toward our area. But the flash flooding, tornadoes, some cases could be worse. So big deal toward those local areas, but not, you know, a national story of right now just historic proportions like what we thought it could be. But it's still a big deal up there. But if it becomes something that's more, you know, on the historic side, we really need to be back on there, certainly we will. But otherwise, stay safe out there. Thoughts and prayers, everybody impacted by Debbie. And for now, just try to have the best night that you can.